This daf here Yerushalmi Eruvin in the article Ozvar edition. We're on daf Mem Amud Aleph. We're at the two dots, which is 7 lines from the top. Gaga Migdal Lidon Keir, which in the Vilna is on daf Lamed Zayin Amud Beis, and it is the 4th line down. Gaga Migdal Lidon Keir. The roof of a tower is like a city. In other words, if you put an Eruv in the middle of the roof of a tower, you get the entire perimeter of the tower as part of the Eruv. The clock starts ticking only once you get beyond the roof. Gaga Ma'ora, but the roof of a cave is Nido Gesodos. It's like putting a Eruv in the middle of a field, and of course you only get $2,000 beginning from the Eruv Tchumen itself, not from the perimeter of the cave. And Reb Chaim explains it very simply. I think it's a Pashut Pshat, even though the article is another Pshat as well, is that the Gaga Migdal's Nikar is being distinct. It's on top of a Migdal, it's top of a tower. The tower here is literal. It means some sort of other structure, like a closet or something, but the bottom line is it has walls. Whereas the cave is just, when you are standing on top of it, it just looks like a field. Even if it's a raised mound, it's still like in the middle of the field. There's no walls around it, no distinct features to it. So therefore, the Eruv Tchumen starts at the Eruv Tchumen itself. The Tchum starts at the Eruv Tchumen itself. Okay, so now back to the cave. The cave said, we had said in the Mishnah that we talk about cave being mitzaref in its entirety. In other words, that the Tchum starts beyond the cave, and we said in the Mishnah language was where the cave does not have habitation. I was on Shivshidurin when the cave is habitation. The entire Malach is Kula. You walk into our cave. And beyond the 2,000 amas, because the entire cave is going to be $1 amas for this purpose. So the what does it have to actually be habitable? Like we showed a picture yesterday, the Be'er Shchai cave, which had habitation inside, or ru'il adira. Madir mamash afil ru'il adira. Says Kormei miboyle hodnam masisa was on shish badurin. Chule miboyle shadur b'nei adam. The people have lived there. Or ru'il adira. So it's not that it's suitable for people to live there. Mimadamar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nachum Hashem Rabbi China at ora kilo osakilu melea mayim betit. So the Kormei says, and you see a cave which does not have habitation, as if it's full of water and mud. So from this deduce when means it's as if it's full of water and mud. But even if it's suitable for habitation, even though it doesn't actually have people inhabiting it, then we don't see it like it's full of water and mud. It's suitable for habitation. So therefore, nechshavs chab amos, then the entire cave is like 4 amos. Okay, so back again to one. Only something which is completely uninhabitable, then it is full of water and mud, and it's not doesn't count as a unit in terms of the Tchumen, but when it's suitable for Dira, then even if it's not actually inhabited right now, then that's considered to be one entity and $1 amos, no matter how large the cave. Rabbi Yitzchak says, Hadar Marah, this tells us, this says here, ear in the Vilna, but the Shas and the Reb Chaim and others all change it to Ma'ora. If you have a cave which has 2 openings, so a picture here in the art scroll, which I showed a picture in the Be'er Shchai yesterday, but there's a picture in the art scroll as well. I thought it was a picture. No, maybe the picture is going later on. Yes, there is a picture. Yeah, the picture is actually around, brings down the next case. But in any event, this is a There's a picture over here. Has two openings. One over here, one over there. And the question is, how much is the extent between the two openings, and relative to the bottom of the cave? Okay, so the if on the top of the cave, between the two openings, there's 4,000 amos, minus 1 amma. Was from each opening of the cave, there's less than 2,000 amos to where they overlap in the middle. There is an overlap. So then mahalchin as kula, you can walk the entire roof, chutzula, and beyond the 2,000 amos, because the entire cave counts as one entity, despite the fact that on the surface you're walking much more than 2,000 amos, because the cave is below is one entity, and you get 2,000 amos beyond each opening of the cave, despite the fact that you have almost 4,000 from here in this direction, from here in this direction, despite the fact that here you have almost 4,000 amos in the middle. So the Malchus Kula, you go the entire roof. Chutza Paimam beyond 2,000 amos. Paim Basal if imama, but if the roof was more than 4,000 amos across that middle part over there, so then you can't go on the surface from one opening to the other. So the of course, well, even then, depends how much if it's over 4,000 amos, I can help you. The Arbas Amo Elo Mimokam Eruva Elapayim Amo Yoli has 2,000 amos for every makes an Eruv. Why is that? Rabbi said Asber Rabbi Zira explained that we had a similar case by an ear a city in the form of a bow several blot ago, and a similar explanation. This is here, which is probably why we had that. There was Girsa before the Girsa before ear was there, which of course we changed to Mara. But even if you put your sandals in the middle, in this area, which is an overlap over here, in the case where it overlaps. So the word bara, it says here bara, it should be bidah. If you come, which again was the language which we used by that city with the keshes and before the Loch Aleph. Here, sandals. Here in the middle, you come bedah on this side and put them on and walk away with them. If you come on this side over here, you put in them the same. You come on this side and nasilon, because they where there's an overlap in the middle. So the back of the beginning of the parak, we changed the gears on the next line from the carbon 8 there. And he changed gears here, but to just to eliminate here, it says, "Agasin mabin asa b'brachuli b'shtei b'chos mutar logasin lehacha b'agav shita reish pirkin ma'is lehacha." This takes a little out over here because it's relevant there by the keshes, not so relevant here by the because the keshes is going comes bedah up this way, comes bedah up that way, and here it's not as relevant. We're talking about a cave coming out 2 doors, but if you read it, then it's a similar import still at the beginning of the parak. Ma'bin aseh bedah, ma'bin aseh bedah. What's image when he comes on this side, when it comes to that side, Ruach Achas, we only get from one side. I'm not going to change gears, so now we'll just read the way it's right here. Ruach Achas, we're going to get that from one side, because there's a gap of more than 4,000 amos in the middle, therefore you can only get to wherever you put your sandals from one side, not the other side. Ruach Achas Aser, Mishtei Ruchas Mutter. We get it from both sides, it's Mutter. Okay, actually, that works fine for you. Rabbi Acha said, "Im hoisa gago shemora arbas alafim amma." So if the roof was 4,000 amos, but as Shas pointed out before, then talk about slightly less than 4,000 amos. Mahalich is kula. You can go the entirety. Like we said before, chutzla pai mama and beyond 2,000 amos. That he had before. He adds a little a different point here. Agabi chom. If you're walking on the wall of a city, so afilu it says the afilu. It should probably be changed to afilu kama mutter. It doesn't matter how big the wall is. The entire wall is like the city, and therefore it's all included as a dalad amos. Now, okay, I assume this is all Rabbi Yaakov B'Shem Mechanina adding on to a statement. If the top, the roof of the cave was 6,000 amos, Mahalchis Kula v'chutz la'adei nivorios. Now, nobody knows exactly what nivorios are, but evidently it's something like holes in the roof. And each hole, somehow the holes in the roof are considered to each add on to the correlation of the roof to the roof of the cave to the cave itself. And even though it's more than 4,000 amos, because these holes in the middle, you can keep walking from one side of the cave to the other. And therefore, the chum only starts when you get to the outer area, the outer perimeter entrances to the cave. That's the language of linvor, means like to dig down, to make a bore. But the Reb Chaim, it says, and that's the way the Yerushalmi Eruvin learns it. But Reb Chaim learns it's like a burgenin. In other words, I guess little huts on top of the cave, and it's just like you make an ibor of a city through the huts. You can make an ibor for a mara for the huts, by the huts as well. The article learns like the first pshat, like Yerushalmi Eruvin brings that from the Pnei Moshe, and that it's the lashon of it's definitely Meir. It's like in the Bavli and Baba Khan. The Yud sign says Chazir Nover Ba'ashpa. Okay, so that digs holes down in the pig when it's eating, digs holes down into the garbage heap from which it's talking and taking its food. Okay, it says Achore Gagin Mau. Now this is interesting phenomenon where we have a kind of a departure from the Lachos Eru Chatzeros here in the Lachos Eru Tchumen. If you have the backs of roofs, I mean the roofs protrude, the way the Mepharshim explained it, the roofs protrude over the side of the walls. That's the way the Korban explains it. It goes beyond. They go beyond the walls which are built up underneath them. That's even though they go beyond the walls, but they're roofs. So maybe it's all considered to be, and there are many roofs connected together. So the question is, as we're going to see in the next further in the Gemara, so the question is, does the Chum start where the wall is down below, or does the Chum start from the edge of the roof where the roof extends? So that's the way the Korban Eda learns. The Reb Chaim learns it straight up and says, no, it's not a story of Tchumen at all. It's a question of Eru Chatzeros. Allowed to carry on top, a classic question, you're allowed to carry allowed to carry on these rooftops, which are connected to each other, but there's no barrier between them. The walls of the which is really called gagos later on. The walls below are not distinct to the people on top. So, and that seems to lush the Gemara, but the later on. But the question is whether the Gemara later on is when it says matiltul. I will get that in a minute. It means actually that the sugya is about carrying. It's to be talking about Erev Tchumen. So let's see. Achrei Gagamau. Yosef b'shem Rabbi Yaakov Acho Rabbi Inia bar Paz b'shem Yehuda Rabbi Acho Mati bo b'shem Shmuel. All these various different attributions. Achrei Gagim b'talkin b'hem. If Achrei Gagim been carrying them, and again, according to Chaim's learning, it's literal. According to Korban Eda, it's talking about and the Kohen seems Bnei Moshe is learning that way because he says not seems he is the Tiltul the Tanakh Kamon Perak Tes Kokos Yerushalmi Gagin Sheesh is a being bachareim, having a gagin of gatzman low, whatever it's about tiltul. But in any event, but if you learn carbon Ada, so metalthim is lav dafka, but it means that it's a tchum. I feel kuraim. It's dal amos, no matter how broad the expanse. The old city of Yerushalmi have that. You can walk up on the roof and then walk from roof to roof, and they would all be considered one dal amos in terms of tchum. Your tchum only start once you got beyond the extent of the roofs. Even according to carbon Ada, is learning it beyond the overhang of the roofs. Okay. So the again, you can learn like the Gourmet. It's about tchum, and say it's not necessarily about overhangs. It's about going from roof to roof. It's all one unit, like the Aramos. Even though you're going on top where there are no walls, and you're going from rishus to rishus. So the it says you can carry up to a base sign, and either it's again kipshuto that you can only carry up to the base sign, or in terms of tchum, because it's not hukaf ledira like below. So therefore, no, if it's larger base of sign, it can't be considered to be one unit, and you can't start counting beyond the perimeter of the roofs, and so not beyond the overhang of the roofs. But you have to go, and therefore you have to wherever you put your tchumen, or that's where you wherever that's where you start your 2,000 amos. This is the words of Rav, which are later on in Kogagos, seem to argue that the time we learn Kogagos Rishus Achasein, all the rooftops say one Rishus. Shmuel Amar ad Beis Hasaim, only up to a Beis Hasaim, because I can see Mukaf, the roofs are not going to be Mukaf Ladira. Rav Amar Matali Ben Afilu Kura, Afilu Kuraim. Even if it's a Kur, if it's a Kuraim, it doesn't matter. It's all considered to be one entity. All those roofs are interconnected. Again, Carbonator, even though we're bringing a raya from there, there's a Chatzeros. The Erev Chatzeros we're going to bring a raya here for Erev Tchumen as well. As we know, that Machlekes Paskin like Shmuel, that we don't, the Chalukas, the urine below, the fact that the divided into urine below does not help for on top, and therefore the can't carry from roof to roof. But in any event, so Rav says, no, the fact that the urine below makes this diurim on top. Shmuel says just like the walls from below don't work, so to the diurim from below don't work on top either. But an event, so that we extrapolate the year where, again, according to Rabbeinu, terms of Erev Tchumen. And here, Bagagi, here, Sfina, the same thing is true by according to Rabbeinu, a protrusion from over the side of the wall of a boat, be like a protrusion over the side of the wall of the roof as well. Going to Bnei Moshe, we're going with Tiltul, and the question whether you have multiple boats connected to each other, can you carry from one to the other? That's going to be the same issue as the tops of, as the rooftops. But here he says actually is talking about Tchum. He says, it's a separate thing. So he goes back and forth between Tiltul and Erev Chatzeros, but between Erev Chatzeros and Erev Tchumen. But Reb Chaim's consistent. He says also this question about Erev Chatzeros, whether mechitzos asuyos lavriach hamayim, where the walls made to push off the water, are going to be walls in terms of a being makif ladira or not. Okay. Next parak. Hador. Halachav. Mastisin. Hadorim alakim b'chotzer. If you live with a non-Jew in a courtyard, or somebody who's Jewish, but he's a Stoki, he doesn't concede in the that there's a concept of Eruv. Hareza Oiselav, he forbids him, says Korbaneda. Oiselav l'taltin beisel chotzer achiskram reshus. You have to rent from him. You can't make it. You can't include chatzeros. You have to rent from the authority to carry sheish lo b'chotzer. His authority, his jurisdiction in the yard. Mahani bita reshus. He can't be mavator his reshus to you either. And the reason why we do this is that the we want to make it uncomfortable for the Jew to live there. Because they're concerned with what is this rental business like It's like magic. So the Jews going to have difficulty living there because the Rishus is not going to work, and therefore he's going to move away and move into a more palatable neighborhood. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Omer Lolam Eino Eser Shnei Yisraelim Osim Zel Zeh. He doesn't answer until there are two Jews living with a non-Jew. Says Korbanei Beis Yisraelim during Beis Batim, two Jews living in two houses. Osim Zel Zeh, and they forbid each other. Voin Larei B'Neim, they want to make an Eruv Chatzer. So Akum Osar Lem, the Akum forbids them to carry, and they have to Yisrael Rishus from him. But an individual Jew, the non-Jew does not forbid the carrying. The diras akum lash madira, because be'etzem the non-Jews living there is not considered to be a dira in terms of it impeding our carrying a Shabbos. So the only reason why we answer is kadesh lo yom u'matzah. So you shouldn't learn from him. You should have to move away. Became the akum chashish shvichos damim, but since a non-Jew is potential, and even the Jew who's not mother Be'eruv is potentially choshesh shvichas dam, is considered potentially a suspect of violence. It's not infrequent that one Jew lives with one non-Jew without a second Jew to kind of watch over him. So therefore, lo gazer abundant, since it wasn't frequent occurrence. So therefore, Rabbanan did not ask in that case. They invoke the Ikar al-Din, which is the Akum Lash Madira, and you wouldn't need a Skrus Rishus in that case. So it has to specifically be where there are two Jews living with one non-Jew in order that a Skrus Rishus should be necessary. So Gemara starts with this idea: the chutz of a non-Jew in terms of Shabbos is like the corral or pen of an animal. And therefore, as unfortunately put out, even there, if the only non-Jews live here, and the main non-Jews, you can go in and out of their houses into the chutzner and back again, and mostly and back again, and carry anything because it's they didn't institute by non-Jewish habitations where there's no Jew living there. So it's interesting the conversation going here now. We saw an animal which are living in a courtyard. So the Chaim says this is similar to the Gemara in the Bavli, which talks about a Beis HaBakar. You have a house which is people are not living there, but it's used to store animals. So the Yerushalmi, the Bavli and Daf Ayin Beis on base. So there's a machlekes there where the Beis HaBakar asers or doesn't aser. So this would be a similar case. So if you have a base, why is the house of the non-Jew no different than a Beis HaBakar? Yisrael behemosh during bechutzer. You have a Yisrael and an animal living in the same courtyard. Shem ain't a behemo seres. Just there's not the fact that the animal house, which doesn't belong to an animal, belongs to a Jew, like the Korban says. Shem ain't a behemo says me. The behemo shel ish acher seres. So it says. Shem Eina Behemo says the animal asers. In other words, you need a Eruv Chatzeros in that case, or a Skrus, depending on whether it's Jewish or not Jewish, I guess. But Shem Behemo says Kacha Akum Oser. Just like the Beis HaBakar aser, so too the Beis HaAkum asers as well. So Meisai Belez Ben Yaakov Rabbanan. So Belez Ben Yaakov aser Rabbanan in turn. So that Iliso Behemo Shudarim Bechotzer. If it was Yisrael and a actual animal without it was the house, and it didn't belong to any fellow Jew. It belonged to the animal somehow. It was the animal's house. Does it answer? Of course not, right? Yes, owned by another, by so but Chosim in Sefer, this the logic here, but it seems evident that that's what's going on. He's saying that you think that the animal has no owner over it who owns the house. Ma behemo seres. Do you think the animal answers? No, it has no rishus. So because it has no halachic ownership, it's just an animal. So therefore, just like the animal doesn't answer, so too the non-Jew has no halachic ownership in terms of Shabbos. By Shabbos, come on, Leisadami. He's not relevant to Shabbos halacha. So the difference is if he's not there. Klesha Mishpat maybe has ownership, but not Orachaim. So my behema shem she'ena behema oseres kach akum ena oser. So to the non-Jew doesn't answer as well. So the next part I want to provide a little bit of a headache for most of the Mefarshim, but we'll try our best with it. Yatzim Shem Rabbi Yochanan said, look, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Let's look at Yochanan ben Nuri, who appears, we had him earlier in the Masechta, that Cheftzei Hefker are Kodim Shvisa. That the object, even though it's Hefker, it acquires its own 2,000 amas, can't be moved by beyond its 2,000 amas where it was at being of Shabbos. Rabbi Yoshe Boy Matzvicha, according to whom do you have to tell me this? Kadar Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, like that which Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. And when it says Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Omer, that Omer is a see that word Omer seems to be just the next word in the Mishnah as it appears there. So like Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, you have to tell me that Cheftzei Akum are Kodesh Visa because he holds Diras Behema doesn't aser and Diras Akum doesn't aser. So you should know, nevertheless, Cheftzei Shvisa, Cheftzei Kodesh Visa is a different halacha. That halacha, Cheftzei Kodesh Visa shouldn't derive from here. Since Diras Behema is not Dira, Diras Akum is not Akum, so therefore Cheftzei Hefker are not Kodesh Visa. No, they're Kodesh Visa. The Baran Krabanan, but Krabanan. Now, I would learn is Chalukim al Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. They think they are Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. It's Pashut, right? You don't have to tell me that because if they hold Dira Sakum Shema Dira, and if you hold like the Pashut symbol, we didn't learn this way. It would mean that Dira Smehema actually in and of itself is a Dira. So then it's Pashut. Do you think are Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri? Of course, they don't argue Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. You know, if you want, you could change your gears and say it's Baran Krabanan and Chluk Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. There's no question that they don't argue Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Okay, that's the case in the Omet, so we'll stop here for today.